Hello everyone, today we will try to analyze the game between Anish Giri and Wang Hao playing the 2021 Candidates Tournament. As we can see, the Giri starts with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, and now white has a choice between playing knight to c3, g3, bishop g5, cd, maybe bishop f4 or e3. So many choices. Giri decided to play g3, which leads to Catalan opening. And now the most common move is bishop e7, which was played in a game. Of course, there are other moves. For example, bishop b4, maybe c6, and other options. After bishop e7, bishop g2, castle, castle, we reached standard Catalan position. And in this position, white has black has many choices. For example, he can try to take on c4, which was played in the game, or he can try to play c6 and try to not exchange any pawns. There's also an option to play knight bd7, but the most popular one is d takes c4, which was played in the game. And now white can play either queen c2 or knight e5. Both moves are quite well known, has been played by the most, by all best players in the world, I would say. So it's a matter of taste. After queen c2, a6, which is the most topical move. Plan is after queen c4, b5, queen c2 and bishop b7, and there is lots of theory here. White play a4, which is a modern main line, I would say, and the line goes there. Bishop e7, queen c4, bishop c6, and now white has a choice. It is a choice between bishop f4 and bishop to g5, or even knight c3. But knight c3 is a bad move because there's a b5 move, after which if white takes, then the rook is lost, unfortunately. That's why you cannot play knight to c3 here. You need to choose between bishop f4 and bishop g5. White chose bishop f4, and now black has to choose the setup. The most important square, I would say, to take control of is b4. We can do that by taking playing a5 and then knight a6 and knight b4. Take this b4 square, or we can try to play something with our bishop. For example, bishop f3 and c6, and then try to play a5. But, well, the most common move is here bishop d6. Other move is, as I said, a5. Some people prefer to play knight bd7. All moves are possible. Even someone played here knight to d5, which tries to exchange bishop. And after bishop d2, for example, knight d7, queen c2, preparing e4, knight b4. Position is unclear, I would say. Of course, there are lots of improvements possible along the way. For example, here white can play something else than queen c2. For example, rook c1 is a good option, or other moves. And well, but it didn't happen in the game. In the game, after bishop c6, bishop f4, black played bishop d6, which is a standard response to this move. And now white has again a choice between queen c1, bishop g5, And knight d2, knight c3 maybe. White play knight c3, bishop f4, gf4, leaving white with this weird construction. However, white has some pluses also, but because you can try to play knight e5, and if allowed a5, trying to gain more space. Black's plan is mostly connected with a5, taking f3, playing c6, queen b6, knight e6, knight b4, and then trying to find a plan next. So after a5 we reach the standard position, and now the theory is almost over, I would say. There are not that many games here. However, obviously it's the best tournament in the world almost, and people know stuff. So after e3, which was played in a few games, black played knight a6, and then white decided to play knight e5. And this was played almost by non-players, so no one played that. People rather chose before some other moves, for example rook c1, rook d1, trying to keep more pieces on the board, which is logical obviously, but Giri says, okay, I can exchange this bishop, but my position is quite solid and I have slightly more space here. This queen is slightly better placed than this queen. I have this weird pawns, but I can use this g5 maybe. Also there is a try to occupy the center with rooks, maybe bring the knight to d3, maybe to c5. Lots of options. Lots of options. But black has also a clear plan, put the knight on b4, queen on b6, connect the rooks, and everything should be okay. And now white plays a little bit weird move h3, but I suppose that it might be helpful after some time. For example, if the queen was on h4, then the move queen g4 would be impossible because of h3. Of course, it's not possible yet, but after some time it might be possible. So it's like prophylactic thinking a bit, I would say. Now black played queen b6. I think knight b4 was also possible to take control of the d5 square. Queen e2, defending the pawn, and c5. c5 is an aggressive move. It happens to be a blunder. Why? Because it gives up this important b5 square for the knight, for the queen. Black's standard plan should be put the knight on b4, like this, and now try to respond to some action on the king side probably. So after king h2, now g6 probably, trying to stop f5s, rook g1, rook d8, and the position is, as they say, unclear, so both sides have some chances to win this game, but the most common will be draw, as usual. But it didn't happen in the game. Black tried to be more active, played c5. And after this move, white's position is great. After simple rook d1, we can play knight b4, but after knight b4, dc, queen c5, queen b5, white's position is much better because he has more active pieces, and that's why black played cd, rook d4, rook d8, trying to exchange more pieces. It is quite logical. However, I would say that even though it's logical, you should have played more cautiously, I would say. Black. For example, here we can take the rook with the queen. We can take the rook. But after taking with the rook, queen b5, position is again a little bit unpleasant. That's why black chose to play queen d8. And white tries to occupy center. And here black played maybe non-trivial move, which is a queen not to c7, which seems to be logical. For example, queen b5, knight c5. And white is slightly better. To a8, using the fact that the king is on the diagonal here. And now white needs to move out of this pin, almost. Knight b4, queen b5, so all the standard moves happened. And now black has a tough choice because white is slightly better and it's not easy to improve pieces for black. Because if we move the rook, for example to c8, then knight to c4 happens and the b6 square is too weak. Can maybe wait the tempo, for example playing g6, but this also does not work because after, for example, knight d7, knight d7, rook d7, white's position is almost winning. So black has to be precise here, and good move is knight d5, which is played by Wang Hao. Stopping knight d7, however allowing this exchange, and after rook c1, white's rook is trying to get to this file, which is not yet possible, but... And now we can develop either rook or play h6 as was played in the game. Queen d7, logical move, trying to occupy this file. Now the position is again slightly better. Black has to try something. If, for example, black tries to play queen a6, activating the queen, then white's winning after rook c8 because of the mating net here. That's why black tried to move this queen backwards. So knight f6, queen d6, g6, which is a slightly weird move, I would say, because why would you play g6 here? But when you think about that, there are not that many moves to play. However, we can try maybe to play queen e8 after b3, think again, and maybe try something creative like b5. But after something like queen c6, white's position is again slightly better, and the ending will be almost tragic. That's why Wang Hao tried to play g6, which is a good move to use the tempo to hide maybe king to g7. And after standard b3, protecting this pawn, prophylactic move h5, king h2, king g7, I decided that it's time to play queen d4 and take this diagonal. And again, life is a bit unpleasant for black. Needs to be really precise here. So he chose to play rook d8 and hit this queen. Queen goes back. And now, again, we need to try to challenge this pieces. This knight is really under attack, and this king is also has to protect this knight, so it's not great. For example, if white goes to f3, then maybe to g5, the pressure on the position will be tremendous. So only way to fight here is to try to be active and exchange more pieces. But it happens that position is lost anyway. For example, you can try to exchange the rooks, rook c8, then after rook c4, again position is lost. However, you can at least try to hold this endgame, which is slightly unpleasant, obviously, probably not even more than slightly unpleasant, probably just lost. But we don't have much choice here. Pressure is tremendous here, and black chose to play queen b8. And after b4, ab rook c4, which is a tricky move, trying to just take with the rook. Black hopelessly tried to activate his queen. However, even though the material is almost equal, the pressure is tremendous. For example, after rook f8, you can maybe play knight d7 or something like this. And after queen e8, we don't even take here. Giri decided to just play rook a7 and double here. And after rook d5, queen b7, we lose again second pawn. And as you know, 2 pawns is too much for almost every position. Of course, standard position. That's why after knight 4, game has ended. So what were the blunders of the Wang Hao? Opening was okay. Everything was theoretically correct. Here. This move, c5, changed the character of the position tremendously, and it caused loss of the game. You should have played knight b4 and go for standard position. c5 weakens too much light squares here, and you shouldn't do it in this type of positions. And after logical moves, position was slightly better for white, and black had lots of problems holding his own here. For example, here maybe there was an option to play this queen a8, queen e8, and maybe this holds, but who knows what will happen, even though the position is really bad. So this little c5 move decided the game. Thanks for watching. See you soon.